see burials?
Welcome to Slingsby's Local History Weekend. What we're doing this weekend is inviting people to come into the parish church and into the village hall to see a range of local history documents and displays of old photographs. We're in Slingsby Parish Church now, and the whole weekend is in aid of the Slingsby Church Tower Restoration Appeal. One of the things that we've got on display are copies of the Reverend William Walker's 1845 tract on the parish of Slingsby. Walker's just one of many people who wrote about Slingsby in the past, and we're lucky to have the Rydell Family History Group with us, who are also selling copies of Arthur St Clair Brooks' tract on the village of Slingsby as well. Both of these rectors were very interested in the parish and wrote about its history and its antiquity. They also have a wonderful image of the church drawn by Harriet Walker, the vicar's daughter, before it was demolished and rebuilt in the 1860s. And it's actually that rebuilding in the 1860s, which, although it saved the church at that time, has now created a lot of problems for us. The tower has now got a lot of ironwork in it, which is rusting, and we're seeking to actually repair the tower as part of our restoration campaign. So we've got a range of other things on display. It includes this wonderful drawing of Slingsby railway station. The station itself went out of large-scale use even in the 1930s, but it was still there, of course, right up until the beaching cuts. And many people have come in over the weekend and told us about going on trips to the Sunday school, to Malton, and then on to Scarborough, getting the train at Slingsby station. And the Reverend Brooke writes a lot about the role of the railway as it came into the village and how it changed village life in the 20th century. One of the other things we've also got on display is a range of aerial photographs of the history of the village. These aerial photographs have been brought in by people from across Slingsby, and many of them have gathered them right as early as the sort of 1950s onwards. And people have been really interested to find their houses on the photographs and to get a sense of how the village has changed. One example of that is Porch Farm Close here. You can see in the 1960s with farm buildings covering the whole of the site. And of course, this is now one of our estates within the village where lots of people live. So they've been very interested to see what was there previously. Also, wonderful images like this one, which gives us a glimpse of the whole of the village itself. And here you can see how the castle has changed in recent years, how much more open it was in the past, how new housing developments have changed the layout of the village. And what's really lovely is to compare this with a very early plan of the church and the village drawn in the 17th century for the Cavendish family. And here you can see really interesting things like the road from Castle Howard, now probably one of the most commonly travelled roads, which at that point was only a farm track across the fields, with the main road coming from Malton through to Helmsley. And here we have the castle with its bank and ditch, some wonderful details of water management systems across what's now the recreation ground, the free cottages where the lawns is now, and all of the medieval toffs and crofts from the village clearly laid out along what is now Railway Street. And of course at that point the main street of the village is the High Street running down by the castle as well. So one of the great things about this weekend is that we also have in the village hall a display of old photographs of Slingsby, which again people have brought in to display, and people are going into the village hall and they're sharing their reminiscences and their memories of Slingsby, past and present. And that's something that we're hoping to encourage the village to fund the digitisation of those photographs and make them available on the website in the future. So we'll be appealing for more photographs, no doubt, in the future for people to bring in. And then the final aspect of what we've got on display in the church is the Rydell family history stand, and that's attracted a lot of attention. So a lot of people have been coming into the church both to look at the Rydell family history group, but also to ask advice about doing their family history. And we've also got in the vestry some of the parish registers, the baptisms and burial registers from the 1880s that people have been coming in to look at before we deposit them in the Borthwick Institute for Archives. But what's been fantastic is that people have been able to find out a little bit more about doing their family history, and hopefully we'll begin to chase that up in the archives themselves. So we hope this is the first of a series of events for local history in Slingsby, and we're looking to found a local history group here and to get a series of events going over the next year or so. So do watch our newsletter and website for further updates about that. Okay, well, welcome everybody again. Lovely to see some of you back from yesterday for more. Yesterday I made a few announcements about the weekend, and that it's all in aid of the Slingsby Tower Restoration Appeal. And one of the things we just wanted to flag is some of the events that are coming up in the next month or so. So on the 1st of April we've got a gardener's question time, a grand gardening event at the Village Hall at 7:30. And there are lots of interesting things going on, including Roger Burnett, who's the manager of Parks and Gardens at Scarborough District Council, Sarah Hops, who's one of the BBC Radio York's gardening experts, and John Foxton, who's the manager of the Castle Howard Plant Centre, who will be our panel. There'll be some wine and savouries, there'll be plant stalls, refreshments, and we'd love some donations of any plants or cakes for those stalls, and tickets will be £3 on the door. And then on Friday the 15th of April, an event close to my own heart, an evening with the Thornton's Chocolate Shop from York. We'll be having Easter eggs to decorate to ice on the night, refreshments again, including, of course, hot chocolate, and a whole set of chocolate games, including chocolate bingo with chocolate coins, so it should be a really fun evening. And we'll be selling tickets for that from the middle of next week. From the village shop, and the tickets are £7.50, but you do get 2 Easter eggs to decorate as part of the ticket price, so we'd like to be able to sell those as many in advance as we can. And also I think coming up possibly in May we're going to have a village film evening as well, and some details about that is on the notice board as well. Today's talks, where we heard about the rebuilding of the churches here in the street, and also about the funerary monuments, some wonderful examples of which we have in the church. We're going to go back in time for our first talk, and I managed to rope in friends and colleagues to work yesterday. I've now roped in my family, so I'm very pleased to introduce Mel Giles, who is a lecturer at the University of Manchester, and she's going to talk to us about the Iron Age in East Yorkshire, and particularly the square barrows in Slingsby itself.